Right. What to do about trouble spots? Those some-bitchin' bars that take more time to learn than the rest of the piece combined. What indeed? There's nothing quite so powerful as having a plan that helps you confront these bastards. And so I'm going to share with you some tricks I use to deal with them so that maybe when you come across them, which you inevitably will, maybe they won't be so damn intimidating and demoralizing. Maybe? Maybe? Some brief comments on memorization, if I may. Because if your first question isn't, should I memorize the trouble spots? It should be. And the answer to that question is yes. If this is a deal breaker for you, first of all, I get it. Memorization is a very personal thing, and there's just a lot of disagreement and angst in the community around this topic in general. But hear me out. Some people find memorizing music super easy to do, and others find it really difficult. For those who find it difficult, know that I count myself among you. Some of the most traumatic experiences of my life were basically when I dropped a deuce on stage from a memory lapse. The total blankness of mind followed by the deafening white noise of failure and defeat. It's just awful. Oh my god, I hate even thinking about it. But that was then, and this is now. As an amateur, one of the perks is to no longer be subject to silly things like contest rules that require pieces to be memorized, and performance conventions where audiences simply expect soloists to play from memory. I say, throw all that crap in the trash where it belongs, and start fresh. My own personal view is that memorization should be a tool, not a rule. I swear I didn't mean for that to rhyme. And when you start thinking of it as a tool, it totally flips the psychology around. It relieves you of this arbitrary expectation that one must play from memory, which only makes you afraid of failing, and instead turns memorization into something helpful, useful. Those who have been following me for a while will have observed that I mostly play with music, but just because I have music in front of me doesn't mean that I'm always reading it. I am a selective memorizer, which means I use memorization as a tool to deal with trouble spots specifically, but I rarely find it necessary to memorize entire pieces. For trouble spots, I know empirically that reading music is just going to get in the way. And the best way I can describe why is with a tech analogy. So apologies in advance to any non-techies out there, but I swear it's not that complicated. I memorize passages for the same reason applications are designed to read from memory, read certain data from memory rather than disk. Latency-sensitive operation that requires heavy compute power, read from memory. Not latency-sensitive, go ahead and read from disk. So my suggestion is to spare yourself all the hand-wringing and make up your mind to memorize trouble spots the moment you know where they are. Saves tons of time and frustration. Side note, I've had a few occasions where there were like a bunch of trouble spots peppered throughout a piece, and after I memorized them separately, I was surprised to discover that in the process of memorizing the various trouble spots, I managed to memorize the whole damn piece without even trying to do so. Human brains are amazing. Right. So as this little film is supposed to be about trouble spots, I suppose it's about time that I got to it. Isn't that what you were thinking, Hercule? I mentioned the one of some notoriety in this first movement of Beethoven's Second Sonata last time. You know, the grace notes that turn what would be a totally fine, no problem section into a tricky little bugger. I'm not meaning to suggest that this passage is a nightmare or anything. There are definitely worse trouble spots than this, but it's a trouble spot nonetheless. So first, obviously, do the slow practice and memorize while you're at it. I've done all of that already, and now I think because of these triplet pickups right here, I'm going to take the approach of blocking the arpeggios because the key to making this passage work at tempo is minimizing extraneous physical movements and keeping hand position nice and precise, close to the keyboard. So this section is a 3-voice canon, and in order to make it work, Beethoven needed to include these grace notes at the 10th below the soprano voice, right? Notice the thumb action in these sequences where the left thumb hands over to the right thumb to carry on the line. So ba 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 ba. Now you want to make that nice now, don't you? Once I've got the section under my fingers at 92 beats per minute, this was my goal this weekend, by the way. What I like to do is drop the chord blocking and see if I can play it as written with the sections before and after. At tempo, this passage should be very subtle. In other words, it shouldn't sound like hard work. The paradox being, obviously, that not making it sound like hard work is the hardest work of all. This is starting to feel pretty good. With every repetition, I can feel myself not having to think as much. Yeah, this is going to be fine. And now I can start to treat it the same as the rest of the piece as I inch ever toward my target tempo. This arpeggio blocking technique is just one of many that you can use, of course. Rather than forcing them all in this time, I'll cover some of the others I use as I work through the rest of this movement and the others in this sonata. Because, as it happens, there are opportunities for me to use pretty much all the arrows in my quiver. I finished the weekend at 108 beats per minute, which means I'm within striking distance of my target tempo. Next time, I'll cover rhythmic practice to smooth out fast runs, and start talking about the ups and downs of finishing a piece. Which is already a misnomer because pieces, in my experience, are never really finished. You merely get them to the point where you play them well enough to call them done for now, or you put them away because you're on the verge of getting sick of them. Do your part to contribute to my retirement beer money fund by liking and subscribing below. And if you really actually liked it, why not share with your piano nerd friends on social media? Thanks for watching. See you next time.